All right, everyone, settle in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest, most fundamental questions in all of psychology, a question that really gets to the very core of who we are. So let's just put it right out there. Are you, really in charge? To what degree do you actually control the person you are becoming? Are your choices truly your own? Or are they maybe just a product of forces you're not even aware of? You see, to even begin to answer this, we have to face a pretty stark contradiction in the research. On one hand, we have frankly, the terrifying results of the Milgram experiment, which suggests humans have this deep-seated, almost automatic obedience to authority. But then, on the other hand, we've got this fascinating research showing that even tiny babies, infants, have a basic moral compass. So what's the deal? Are we hardwired to follow orders, or are we born with a sense of good?
Okay, so let's first explore the case for external control. This is the argument that our actions are heavily and maybe even unconsciously shaped by the world around us.
This is the one that just sent shockwaves through the world of psychology. In Stanley Milgram's famous 1963 experiment, 65% of ordinary people were willing to deliver what they thought were painful, possibly even lethal electric shocks to another person. And why? Simply because a guy in a lab coat told them to keep going. It's a really chilling look at the power of the situation. Now, this idea was really championed by the behaviorist psychologist B.F. Skinner. He argued that our behavior isn't the product of some deep internal choice. Nope, he said it's all shaped by a lifetime of rewards and punishments from our environment. From his point of view, we're basically just very complex machines responding to whatever the world throws at us. And okay, if our actions are so easily influenced, what about our identity itself? Well, the work of cognitive psychologist Elizabeth Loftus makes things even murkier. Her research shows that our memories, the very stories we tell ourselves about who we are incredibly fragile. They can be twisted, distorted, or even completely fabricated just by a simple suggestion from the outside. But now, let's completely pivot. Let's look at the powerful counter-argument, the idea that we don't come into this world as blank slates, the idea that we arrive with a pretty sophisticated operating system already installed. So at the heart of this perspective is this concept of innate moral foundations. A leading voice here is psychologist Paul Bloom, and he argues that we don't learn right and wrong from scratch. Instead, we're born with a kind of moral starter pack. It's a natural gift, he says, just like our ability to learn a language. It's simply part of our biological inheritance. And Bloom's experiments with babies are just brilliant at showing this. So picture this. Infants, some as young as 6 months old, watch a little puppet show. There's a character trying to climb a hill, really struggling. Then a helper puppet comes in and gives it a push up to the top. A little later, a hinderer puppet comes along and shoves it back down. The big question is, which puppet do the babies like more? Well, the results aren't even close. Overwhelmingly, when the researcher offers them a choice between the two puppets, the vast majority of infants reach for the helper. They don't want anything to do with the hinderer. This strongly suggests a built-in pre-verbal preference for helpful pro-social behavior. And this moral blueprint, it just keeps going. Newborns show a basic kind of empathy. They cry when they hear other babies crying. By about 15 months, they get fairness. They'll look surprised if they see treats being handed out unfairly. And get this, some studies even show 1-year-olds will punish the bad puppet, maybe by hitting it or taking a toy away from it. Now, it's not just about morality. We are also born with what is arguably the most powerful learning machine in the entire universe, the human brain. Psychologists like Alison Gopnik have this great term for infants. They call them scientists in the crib because of their incredible innate ability to make guesses, test them out, and learn about the world at a speed that is just staggering. And let's just talk about the hardware for a second. By the time a child is 3 years old, their brain has hit a peak density of about 15,000 synapses or connections for every single neuron. That makes a toddler's brain twice as metabolically active as yours or mine. It is a supercomputer that is just primed and ready to learn. Okay, but here's the thing. This incredible brain doesn't develop in a vacuum. It is fundamentally, from the ground up, designed to work within a social network. For humans, connection isn't optional, it is our basic operating system. And our own biology pushes us in this direction. When we connect with other people, our brains release this wonderful cocktail of feel-good chemicals. You get oxytocin, that bonding hormone, which helps build trust. You get serotonin, which boosts your sense of well-being. And you get dopamine, which just makes it feel pleasurable. Evolution has literally made it feel good to be together. And in just the last few years, neuroscience has uncovered something even more mind-blowing. It's called interbrain synchrony. It turns out that when people are cooperating or just having a good conversation, their brainwave patterns actually start to sync up. They literally get on the same wavelength. This is a foundational mechanism for things like empathy, understanding, and passing on culture. So, how on earth do we put these two things together? On one side, we're so easily influenced by the outside world. On the other, we have this deep, innate blueprint. Well, the answer seems to lie in the one thing that truly makes us human. And here is the key takeaway. Awareness of our own programming can act like a cognitive vaccine. By understanding our psychological bugs, like our tendency to obey authority or the flaws in our memory, we can actually start to build up a resistance to them. Knowing how the machine works lets you start to debug it. I love this metaphor from Alison Gopnik. We're not static beings running on fixed code. We're much more like the mythical ship of Ulysses. On its long journey, it was repaired and rebuilt, plank by plank, so many times that by the end, no original parts were left. And yet, it was still the same ship. We can use our reason to actively repair and reprogram ourselves as we go. So let's try to bring this all home. The evidence suggests we don't get to choose the raw material of our lives. We don't pick our genes, our parents, our early environment, or those innate moral instincts. That block of stone is just given to us. But, and this is really the beautiful, hopeful conclusion from modern psychology, we do hold the chisel. Our capacity for reason, for self-reflection, for making conscious choices, that gives us the power to decide how that stone is going to be carved. We have the ability to shape our own character. And that's what brings this huge psychological debate right down to a very personal level. We may not be the sole authors of our story, but it seems we are, without a doubt, the lead editors. So the final question I'll leave you with isn't for the academics, it's for you. What chisel stroke will you choose to make today?